Dicky never asked me how I come up with the lyrics for our songs before. But after he heard me outside, strumming away at this new tune in the wee hours of the morning, he stumbled out onto the porch to find out. He made no effort to tame his disheveled hair or manage a patronizing morning glory. He just dragged over a plastic lawn chair, demanding I spill my guts. I sighed and told him I wouldn't even know where to begin. And then he sighed and asked me if it was too early to start drinking. I handed him a gallon of OJ mixed with warm Popov vodka and sighed once more. Oh, Christ. Well, if you really must know. I told him how it all started after I was shaken from a splendid little night terror. It cast the Merry Pranksters in a cheesy sitcom, a low-budget situation comedy where you weren't sure who to root for, and it had this catchy little theme song that was playing on repeat. With our breath frosting in the crisp morning air, he took hit after hit off the ghetto screwdriver, waiting patiently for me to get to the point. I told him the first verse came around 4 o'clock this morning. There I was, scouring the dark living room in search of a forgotten quaalude and the missing remote control. Turning to face him, it was clear he was looking for a finish line, but I had only just heard the starting gun. You know how ever since the couch snakes ran off with the remote, it's been stuck on that muted cable news channel? Well, for some reason this morning, those pesky subtitles decided to hit me with a mild panic. Dicky stopped me with an outstretched hand and narrowed eyes to ask if I'm getting to the bit about the song. Assuring him I was almost there, I grabbed the OJ to ask, Bro, have you ever stopped to look at that anchor, been gaffled? There's something fishy about that cat. I lit a cigarette to stop my hands from trembling and started describing the shiny man's jaw and eyebrows and how they move in inhuman ways, while the rest of his plastic Ken doll face and hair remained stiffly in place. I explained that even the way he signs off, bringing you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, been gaffled, humbly saying, Folks, you are welcome, is dripping with so much narcissism it left me with an uneasy impression that this is not news at all, but some kind of carefully crafted narrative. When Dicky started plucking the intro to La Bamba, I stopped and asked if he'd heard about the senator's daughter yet. Taking the screwdriver from my hand, he asked if she was the inspiration for the song. Motioning with the palm of my hand for a little grace, I broke down how an old yearbook picture of a little girl sporting a healthy schnoz and a metallic smile was featured as the scrolling headline read, Senator Shapiro's young daughter Bethany went missing on her way home from school over the weekend. Though online trolls have been harassing the innocent little girl by posting look-alike photos on the social media site Horus, Senator Shapiro told authorities she had been receiving threatening messages. It does not specify whether the dangerous threats came from anti-Semitic groups known to support President Kirk. The only problem is, I told Dicky, I think I've seen this chick before. She's like a meme of some rich party girl. I don't think she's unhot. She kind of resembles a cousin I hooked up with at a bar mitzvah once. She gave weak dome. Though it's possible the picture I saw was a fake, it was a while ago. I tried to express to him the intense feeling I got that there was something fundamentally dishonest about the pre-nose job picture they were trying to paint, but I can't quite put my finger on what it is. Although the plastic man on television insinuated she'd been abducted and the probability she'd been murdered is high, I tell him, Dicky, I'm just not getting any visions of her decomposing corpse. I hadn't even gotten around to the bit about the reptilian propagandist dragging the Merry Pranksters into Ben Gaffel's tangled web of lies, but I could see Dicky was anxious for me to get on with the story about the song. Weary but not defeated, he asked me in very plain English if the new song is about a missing Jewish chick or the Ken doll on the news. I was trying to focus, lay out the facts in a coherent way, how it all started while I was loafing around the parking lot of Cheeks, waiting for Hank to bring the caddy around. I told him about the gypsy and the ashy complexion, and that she may have been undead. And when he asked me if she was hot, I told him I'd done worse. He asked again with what little patience he had remaining, So, to make a short story long there, Schultzy, the song is about a zombie hooker you got head from in the parking lot of a strip club the other night? I let the head version mull over for a beat before turning to him to say, "Oh, the song? Yeah, it just came to me. I think I knew it all along. It's funny, all I had to do was write it down." Shivering, Dicky turned away from me with no more interest left to give. I finished by saying, "Hey, I think I'll call it Holy Gunsmoke. What do you think?" As dawn breaks, Dicky and I head inside, and we both strum through the new tune. After a couple of goes, he straps on his Telecaster and starts fumbling around with a bluesy intro riff, a simple progression of major chords while working in a few minor sevenths. He caught the irony in the chorus the second time around and took over the vocals with that raspy, hypnotic voice of his. He was experimenting with some cool licks by the time Hank ran out of his bedroom carrying a large Ziploc bag full of cocaine hanging from a metal hand scale and asked, "What the fuck is that song you guys keep playing?" "What, this thing?" Dicky asked innocently. "Oh, this thing's about 2 hours old, Hank pauses as his face begins to soften with an emerging grin that suggests we play it at the Halloween Monster Mash at Cooper's. I ask him if Megami will even allow us back there after that whole ball ache with April from the Riverfront Times, but he assures us that Fook will work his manager magic and smooth things over. With Dicky steadily eyeballing the baggie of cocaine that hangs from the scale like a hypnotist charm, Hank finally takes notice. He squints carefully at the bag of yo and says, "Oh yeah, hey, there's something you should probably know." Hank skips through a lot of the gory details. He doesn't even mention the carpenter's shears or the menthol cigarettes, and Dicky doesn't ask a lot of questions about the bloody guitar case full of blow. Instead, Hank focuses strictly on a stern message of caution. "Look," he says solemnly, "the way Demeen made it sound, there really is some tatted-up Irish cat who's been running the dope game. Word is, he may be trying to get into the music business too. You know Joey. When he's told to go right, he goes left. So his dumbass probably pissed off the wrong Irishman. Anyway, keep all this on the down low, you know what I'm saying?" He tells us the underworld of St. Louis is abuzz. Rumors that the mythical Patty, who Joey loved to allude to, is somehow involved, rings like an old urban legend. But Hank says that he has to wait to hear from Demeen before he knows anything for sure. Then he leans in and whispers, "Yeah, speaking of fiends, what did you guys think about Gonzo showing up the other night? That dude's fucked up." Dicky shrugs his shoulders and tells him, "Yeah, man, well, fucked up is relative." Handing Hank the gallon of OJ with a soothing head nod before saying, "Hey, man, if Gonzo is still down for the gig, that's cool. But if he's not into it, that's cool too. Let's just see what happens." I can't tell if he knows how far he's missing the point, but Hank quickly sets the record straight, insisting that he isn't the slightest bit concerned Gonzo won't show up for the gig. He's concerned he will. Dicky stands up tall, tilts his head to the sky as if to ask the stars how things have come to this point. I take a hit off the potion and say, "Yeah, well, for what it's worth, I don't think Gonzo is simply living out some rock and roll fantasy here. He's got a look about him." The sound of outcasts coming from outside has Hank lurking out the peephole with clenched fists. Through dark sunglasses, Fookie steps out of his mom's Lincoln, pivoting cautiously up and down the street like he was tasked with protecting the free world. Though he doesn't open the door for him, Fook stands by the passenger's side for a beat until Gonzo exits the car to look down upon the neighborhood with pity, as if he'd like to toss it a dime. Gazing upon the barren park like a pair of sex offenders from an old after-school special, both Fookie and Gonzo follow a young roller girl skating down the bike path, wondering with a slight head tilt if she's old enough to know better. Without shutting the door, Gonzo struts his way around Fookie and in through the living room with his arms flailing at his sides like some drunken Brit pop star. As Dicky strums Besame Mucho on his 12-string, Hank does not look up from his phone to state in a measured tone, "Fook, shut the fucking door."